Hello, everybody. Corrections 101 here tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. Um, Try not to make this too long of a video today. Just wanted to update everybody on the arrest warrant affidavit that I received from the courts. Received some other court paperwork, but I just want to go over this arrest warrant affidavit by the Lee County Sheriff's Department for the arrest of Mark Young, who had allegedly has sexually assaulted after grooming females at the South Iowa Area Detention Service Agency. Let me go ahead and get this banner going here because, something I wanted to go with at the beginning of every broadcast as we talk acronyms here. Sometimes it's the wonderful world of acronyms, unfortunately, sometimes in corrections and a lot of other industries too. So it's not just a corrections thing. But so when I say SIADSA, SIADSA is South Iowa Area Detention Service Agency. When I say SIACC, and it's scrolling here at the bottom on this banner down here, just to repeat, SIACC is the South Iowa Area Crime Commission. South Iowa Area Crime Commission oversees the South Iowa Juvenile Detention Center or South Iowa Area Detention Service Agency. So SIACC is above SIADSA. So there you go. Also, the best things you can do right now is it's totally free, is hit the like button, hit subscribe because the only way you're going to be able to know when there's new videos out on this Mark Young saga is if you hit subscribe. And then to be notified every time, right when a new video comes out, make sure you hit that bell icon. Like I said, a lot of you newcomers, I've been doing YouTube for years, but over the last couple of years, just because life was so busy and everything, I hadn't done any YouTube videos, and so it dropped my monetization. It dropped, even my subs now. I have over 2,500 subs, and they don't even get notified anymore when I do a new video because what YouTube does is after you've been out of it for a while, they completely drop you um just out of the stream, and they just don't get notifications anymore. So make sure you hit that notification bell, and let's get to it here, guys. um let's pull up this arrest warrant affidavit here real quick, guys. So as you can see here, I blocked out his address because I didn't want to dox the guy. So here you can see Mark Everett Young. And here's his personal information. The class here, AGMS, is aggravated misdemeanor. Location type, this is going to be for the jail, and that address right there, the 255th Street. That is the Lee County Sheriff's Department address. That is not his personal address. I made sure I blocked that out so that he wouldn't be doxxed with his personal address, because regardless of how we think of Mark Young or anything, we do not want him harassed. We don't want anybody trying to contact him over for any reason. Okay, let the courts play out, let law enforcement do its thing, let the courts do its thing, and we just got to pray for the prosecutors and for the judges to be able to get to the right outcome in this. Okay. So warrant requested, obviously a warrant was done. And I gotta, before we get into this, I just gotta give a shout out because I know previously I said, hey, if Daily Gate City and the Daily Democrat there in Fort Madison, the local newspapers, who actually did, uh, I'll give them a shout out. They actually did some great reporting right after the arrest. After that, they've been silent. I don't know where they're at. I don't know why they won't report on this. I don't know why they won't ask any tough questions. But hey, I give them a shout out. They were very, very accurate in the initial long report that they did on what Mark Young allegedly did. So I give them a shout out. Total credibility with those guys. So here we can see the narrative. It's just usually typically a one-liner, just kind of a summary. On or about the above stated date and time, the defendant did engage in a sex act with a juvenile minor who was committed to the state custody of a juvenile detention facility or shelter care home. Okay. So we're going to read through this, and I might stop here and there just to kind of give my input on this. Of course, like I say in every video, assuming all this is correct, which I have no reason to believe that it's not, the Lee County Sheriff's Department did a great job here. They're very thorough, it looks like, and I haven't heard an inkling of anything that they've done wrong, or missed anything. Now we'll have to see once it, gets trial or where everything, how good the investigation was. But from everything I've heard and can tell, they did a really just bang up job on this. And a lot of people have asked, well, if he was arrested or if he was let go and the investigation started in October, why did it take until December, 2 months later for him to be arrested? Well, in things like this, Mark, he was fired from the juvenile detention center, so he was removed from that situation. And when something is not pressing or urgent, or someone's in immediate danger, the one thing you got to do is, with investigations, fast is slow and slow is fast. You want to be thorough. You want to make sure you have to do everything, and just things just don't move very fast in a juvenile justice center or in the justice system. Period. The sheriff's department would have been in contact constantly with the county attorney's office, and uh, kind of working together to get a strategy together on everything that they needed to build this case. And a lot of times, when you're pulling info from cell phones, that just doesn't happen overnight. It has to be, all that data has to be done after a search warrant, and then it has to be interpreted. You have a lot of, I'm assuming there's going to, a lot of people had to be interviewed, probably a lot of juveniles at the juvenile detention center, a lot of staff. There's just a lot of work that goes into these investigations. So shout out to them. And I know to a lot of people, 2 months seems like a long time for investigation. It kind of is a little bit, but you want to get it right. And you don't get do-overs in investigations once these things go to court or go to trial. So from everything I can tell and from everything that I've heard, like I said, I don't have any special sources or anything like that at the sheriff's department. Just kind of go, word of mouth. And in a community like Keokuk, Montrose, Fort Madison, in the circles that we all run in, working in corrections or law enforcement or stuff, word travels around if something's amiss. And I haven't heard an inkling of anything, of any wrongdoing or bad doing by the Lee County Sheriff's Department. So shout out to Lee County. Seems like they did a bang up job here. Um, I got a couple different screens here going. I'm going to look at my bigger screen for this one here, guys. I, the undersigned, being duly sworn, state that all facts contained in this complaint and affidavit, known by me or told by me, the other reliable persons, form the basis for my belief that the defendant committed this crime. On 10/29/2025, a Lee County Sheriff's Office deputy was asked to respond to the South Iowa Area Juvenile Detention Center, located at, due to an internal investigation of possible criminal matter involving an employee. The detention center director reported that the detention officer, Mark Young, had engaged in appropriate conduct with a 16-year-old juvenile detainee, which involves spending a concerning amount of time talking to the juvenile at her room and flashing a large sum of money in front of other staff members on 10/28. So did this in front of staff members too. It's ballsy, stupid, ballsy. Young also opened a hallway bathroom door, which obstructed the camera view of Juvenile's room while he talked to her. Young had received a written reprimand in May, and this is where the story for me takes a complete turn. And we'll talk about this later after we get through this affidavit on why there aren't potential charges for the director at SIADSA and director at SIACC, depending on what she knew, after this happened in May, because in May, as you'll see here, they were on notice. He should have been terminated in May, and this sexual assault of this juvenile at the detention center by Mark Young, allegedly, would never have happened if he would have been terminated, which he should have been, because you have inappropriate sexual stuff going on, even if it's just verbal, that's cause for termination. That's a PREA violation. I mean, the fact that and the director there at SIADSA, her name is Teresa Range. I personally like Teresa Range. I've never had a major issue with her or anything. One of the nicest ladies in the world. But this just screams incompetence. You cannot survive this, and the fact that she's still there is ridiculous. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's get through this arrest warrant affidavit. Young had received a written reprimand in May due to accusations that he had inappropriate conversations with other female juvenile detainees, which included talking about his gambling, drinking alcohol, his sex life, hanging out with other female juveniles when they turned 18, and showing them how much money he carried in his wallet. Young was ordered not to be around the female juveniles during his shifts and was to wear and have a body cam activated at all times with no exceptions. Again, that's not good enough. I mean, if he's that suspect to where he's ordered not to be around any females at all, which obviously that didn't work. If everything in this is true, that he did all this stuff in October, telling somebody to stay away from the females isn't going to work if they're hell bent on sexually assaulting a juvenile. One of the absolute last things that we wanted a juvenile detention center. Young, let's see, the case was forwarded to the Criminal Investigation Division for follow up. Let me scroll down here. Numerous reports were forwarded to the Lee County CID from detention center employees and the director. The reports from coworkers indicated that Young had a special interest in the female juvenile and spent a lot of his shift talking to her, and one coworker stating that he warned Young to be careful. Again, why is this coworker telling Young to be careful? I can tell we'll get to the end of this. I'll tell you what I would have done in this situation if I had a coworker doing all this nonsense. It was then brought to the detective's attention that Young had made arrangements to bond out the 16-year-old juvenile, and Young asked the juvenile to flash her breast for him during his October 26th shift. The female the female juvenile was interviewed, and she stated that Young told her that he would help her, but she needed to do something for him. The female juvenile complied by flashing Young, and she reported that Young also touched her breasts and took a picture with his phone. Oh, I've read this about 10 times, and every time I just get just more and more upset. It's ridiculous. Young would also bring contraband in for the female juvenile, consisting of fast food, candy and snacks, and energy drinks. Young would state that he would bond the female juvenile out and that they could hang out at the Riverside Casino. The female juvenile would also state that Young's October 28th and 29th night shift, Young would show her a large sum of money to prove that he could bond her out, which he was consistent with reports from Young's coworkers. After numerous interviews, it was found that Young had contacted the female juvenile's mother by attempting to call her and also sent her text messages advising that he was the person helping to bond her daughter out. The juvenile's mother confirmed that Young had contacted her, and she forwarded screenshots of the text messages, which stated, "Hey, this is the guy helping bond your daughter. Can I call you tomorrow or Tuesday? And hey, I got your daughter's bail money. Where do you want to meet at?" The mother stated that her daughter had called her and informed her that a JDC employee would be contacting her to bond her out. The mother added that the JDC director informed her that her daughter reported that she flashed her breasts for Young and that he had taken a picture. It's a nightmare for a parent to get that kind of a call when you would assume, regardless of what your kid has done, to be able to have to go to juvenile detention center, that you figure it's a safe place, that there's people there that's not going to do any harm to your daughter, and then this happens when it's completely foreseeable. Completely foreseeable. A follow up interview with the female juvenile was conducted, and she stated that on October 26th, Young had asked her to flash him a naked body part every time he walked to a room, which was numerous times during his shift. Young would then ask to digitally penetrate the juvenile and kiss her, and asked her to write him a graphic letter of what they would do together when she was out. The juvenile would later report that she was upset because she did what she was supposed to do and Young did not. However, the female juvenile was unaware that her mother declined Young's offer to help bond her out. Two search warrants were executed, one on Young's home and the second on his personal cell phone. Young's cell phone was forensically examined, which was successful in documenting the calls and text messages that he made to the juvenile's mother. The surveillance video was reviewed, and a timeline was established concerning the frequency and duration of the time Young spent talking to the female juvenile at her room with the door open. On two room checks on 1026, Young can be seen with his cell phone in his hand and activated. Young can be seen talking on his phone while standing outside the female juvenile's room, and then he opens the door and it appears the phone is still activated. At one point, it appears that he is capturing a video or a picture the way he is holding the phone with the camera facing the inside of the room. During the course of the October 26th shift, Young's arms would enter the room several times by crossing the door frame and threshold. Signature of the officer, Clint Ray. I know of Clint Ray. I don't know him personally, just know of him. Never heard a bad thing about him. Um, Sounds pretty dang solid to me. We'll leave this up here for a minute. In May, SIADSA and SIACC were absolutely on notice that he was grooming. I don't know what the hell is going on at the juvenile detention center. After I left SIADSA, I worked at two other major big juvenile detention centers that were a lot more professional, a lot more training, run by people that knew what they were doing. And then you look back on SIADSA while I worked at these other juvenile detention centers, and you just look at just how poorly run the facility is. In my experience, I can only go based on my experience, and this is many, many years ago. Um, but Teresa Range was there then, and she's the head of it now. And I've heard that nothing's really changed at that detention center. And you have, do they not take any training on how to tell if an officer or any other staff or adult is grooming? I mean, that's something that we had, continue education all the time to see the identifiers of grooming. And this is grooming 101. I mean, if you had to make a big old PowerPoint about this at the very beginning of any kind of instructional session about grooming, I mean, this would be absolutely what happened in May. And for them not to fire him is ridiculous. Now, I posed the question earlier about Teresa Range and Carrie Folkerts at SIAC. Should they be facing charges? And let me make my case because I know this is a little bit of a stretch. And of course, I don't know everything. I'm just going based on what's in the arrest warrant affidavit. We have started in this country, and I don't always agree with this 100%, but let me make the case here. So, school shooters, we have started prosecuting their parents, very heavy sentences, um, after their kid shoots up a school. Now, I don't always agree with that. It's hard to hold other people responsible for what your kid did. But if we're going to be doing that, you have to have the same kind of reasoning that they should have known that their kid was capable of doing this. Well, in this situation, they were on notice that what Young was all about. He was grooming and having inappropriate sexual conversations with these females, so much so that they said, well, you can't even be around the females. Well, we know how all that goes. If someone's hell-bent on sexually assaulting a female, they're going to find a way to do it, and it may not be tomorrow, it may not be a week, maybe it's after things die down a little bit, and in this case, like 4 months later. But they were on notice of this, and that's a huge gamble. And if you allow somebody to stay like that in employment in a juvenile detention center, maybe you should be facing some charges like child endangerment because you were on freaking notice that he was grooming, that he was a sexual deviant with this female juveniles. So that's my case on that. And like I said, I don't know everything. Um, you know, I'm not firm on that they should be charged or anything like that, but at the very minimum, they shouldn't be employed there anymore. You have to have a complete cleaning of the house at SIADSA. You can't have the same administration. You can't have the same managers that were overseeing. Okay, we're back. I don't know why StreamYard's having these problems. Um, I'm gonna might with the price that they jacked the rates up to, I might have to go to a different service to try something out. But if I was a juvenile detention officer at a facility and Mark Young had pulled the stuff that he did in May, if I had a director of the facility saying that he could still stay on there as a juvenile corrections officer, I would raise hell, and I would tell the director, either he goes or I go, and I'm gonna be loud about it on the way out, and the first stop I'm gonna go is the state's attorney's office in Illinois because that's where most of my experience was, because this is ridiculous. This is insane. This is absolute insanity. Keeping someone here that's grooming girls on juvenile detention center. I mean, I kind of laugh about it, but sometimes it's so ridiculous and stupid that sometimes all you can do is laugh about it because it's that ridiculous. And why is everybody staying quiet at SIADSA? Where are your guts for those who work in there since May? I mean, I know it takes some guts and that you may not want to leave there, but you need to stand up for these kids. I mean, the administration is inept. Supervisors obviously inept. You need to clean house there. And like I said in a previous video, if I was a probation officer or a judge or any of these actually, if I was a participating county, let me tell you how SIADSA is funded and SIACC. So they're funded by taxpayer money. They are private organizations. However, they are funded by these member counties that pay a bunch of money each month or annually or however it works to SIAC and SIADSA to house their juvenile delinquents that get into major trouble. And that's how they keep their membership dues low and everything. But it's taxpayer money funding these facilities. So it absolutely is our damn business asking tough questions. And we talk about restorative justice a lot. Like I said, I'm working on my master's in public safety right now, and actually, one of the classes I'm taking, it's like the second or third class, besides from my um, undergrad degree in restorative justice. And one of the things with restorative justice is law enforcement, corrections, the whole criminal justice system working with the community so the community has a sense of um, feeling right about things. They have input, and it usually comes out to a better resolution. Well, here you have SIADS and SIAC telling you blank you. We're not telling you jack. And then we have almost a complicit media that says we're not going to ask any questions. And it's okay to ask these questions, people. I give you permission to ask these questions, people. You don't need a 4-year degree like me in law enforcement and justice administration. You don't need to work almost a decade in juvenile corrections to ask these questions. You're smart. These people tell you, well, you don't know what it's like working in juvenile detention. Well, you may not with a lot of things, but this is common sense, people. You have the right to ask these questions as a taxpayer. You have any of these juveniles sent to this detention center with this administration, with these supervisors right now, um, are at risk. They don't have what it takes to be running a solid detention center, based off of what happened with Mark Young. They just don't, people. And it's okay to ask these questions. One of the things that really I've been disappointed in is, I had a, let me go at this two different ways. One, I've had actually a lot of people in law enforcement reach out to me in Southeast Iowa after I started posting this stuff. And, it's kind of like we got to go to a speakeasy to talk about this because we can't talk about it in person, which drives me nuts because it's why. Why do we got to whisper about this crap? Why, you know, it's it's really, really frustrating. We should be able to talk about this the open, and anybody in law enforcement should be able to talk about it and give their opinion on it because everybody's going, this is bat crap crazy. And they're like, how does Teresa Range still have a job at SIADSA after that? After everything he did in May, she kept him on there after he was grooming. She was on notice and was surprised that he sexually assaulted a juvenile offender. How does she still work there? This is crazy. And you're not crazy for thinking the same thing and asking the same questions because it's insane. You do this in the private sector anywhere, having somebody you're at, let's say someone, starts slipping company checks in their pocket. They get caught. Well, okay, you can't be around the checks anymore, but you keep them on there. And then they end up stealing $2 million from you. Any CEO would be fired from that place, leaving them on there. Why is it any different than the public sector? Especially, I mean, this is the apex of power, people. At any jail or law enforcement agency or juvenile detention center, You have juveniles that can't run anywhere. They're stuck there. They're depending that, I'm going to be at least safe here, from, adult staff. I don't have to worry about getting freaking raped, sexually assaulted, and then you have people like this coming in there and just, they don't give a rip about the kids. They'll say they do. Actions speak more louder than words. And then I'm really disappointed with like Nebraska probation, one of these dirtbags, whether it's Mark Young or somebody with SIADSA or SIACC, thinking that I still work for Nebraska probation, calling them or emailing them or whatever they did and still working on that. I'm really disappointed in Nebraska probation because they're fighting me on giving that information, but we'll get it, you know, um, trying to get me fired for even talking about this online. Have I said anything crazy about it? Have I talked vulgar about it? Have I said anything that could be even considered controversial? No. I'm just asking basic questions here and using my experience and expertise in education and in my time in juvenile corrections and the criminal justice system to be able to say, whoa, this isn't right. And people in the community, you're not wrong for asking some damn hard questions. And for the state of Nebraska to be protecting whoever this person is, I mean, just think about this for a second. If it's somebody from SIADSA or from SIAC, which I'm not saying it is, I don't know who it is yet. But I was talking actually to a couple people the last couple of days that actually used to work at SIADSA. They reached out to me and they said, "Hey, have you figured out who tried to get you fired, thinking you still work for Nebraska probation yet?" And then I told them, both of them, I said, "No, still working on that. They're fighting me. I'm really disappointed in them because think of who they're protecting if it is somebody from SIADSA or SIAC. You know, talk about an ultimate abuse of power. They allow this crap to happen with Mark Young, and then someone that has, heaven forbid, asks a couple tough questions about it, and actually just reports on it, reading the news articles and arrest warrant affidavit, and they try to get you terminated from your job because heaven forbid you even talk about it. Talk about the ultimate abuse of power there. It's sickening. I don't know what the hell's going on here in Southeast Iowa with this right now, but people need to. I'll fight this battle alone if I have to. That's fine. That's fine. I can do it. The psych and SIADSA, if they think that they can intimidate me or anybody else intimidate me and not talk about it, they don't know who I am because I will talk about this. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to ramp it up now. I'm in my midterms week here, working on my master's. So this week's kind of tough. But guess what? Next week's spring break, baby, spring break, and I'm gonna turn it up. I'm gonna turn it up a notch. And guess just what I sent in for? Body cam footage of Mark Young's arrest, public records request to the Lee County Sheriff's Department. Of course, they haven't done anything wrong that I can tell, and I'm not alleging that at all with the Sheriff's Department. Seems like they really professional, really good in this whole situation. Sent a huge records request over to SIADS and SIAC. They're going to fight me on that one. They will, but they have to. It doesn't matter if they're a private organization or not. They have to turn those records over. Yeah, they can redact some stuff in there if they need to, but we're going to get a lot of answers. I used to work there, and I know exactly what records to request to do our own little investigation and start putting puzzle pieces together and put this out to the public because the public has the right to know about it. They're paying the taxes to keep these places open. And SIAC and SIADS are just like blank you. We're not telling you anything. We don't care. Our kids in these, I don't care what a kid has done to be at juvenile detention. Some of these juveniles, yeah, I agree. They're not getting put in there for status offenses. It's pretty bad stuff, some of them, as a matter of fact. But no juvenile deserves to get sexually assaulted, especially when it's completely foreseeable. It's gross. It's disgusting. Should be there protecting them. I've had to take some hard stands, and um, while currently, it's just really disappointing to where, even though I'm not scared at all to face these guys at SIADS or SIAC. They don't intimidate me at all. I've been truly threatened. When I worked at a huge, the largest detention service, detention agency I worked for in Illinois, there was a legit kid in there, first degree murder, gangbanger, and it was an absolute threat to have me murdered after I wrote him up for an offense, and that was that was legit. And he had the powers outside of juvenile detention to make that happen with the major gang affiliation that he had. That was scary. This isn't scary. Okay, you want to threaten me if I can never work in juvenile corrections again? You want to try burning my bridges? I don't care, because what we're doing here is righteous. What we're doing here is right. We're sticking up for the kids. I don't care what they did to get there. You don't have the right to keep people there that or it's foreseeable to see is going to sexually assault them. And why are they still there? I I don't get it. Like I said, we're going to have a bunch more documents coming our way from SIACC, SIADSA. We're going to probably have to fight them guys to get those. They'll probably say we're not going to give you anything, but they have to. If we sue them, we'll have to. Um, some people ask, "Hey, really don't want to go vocal on anything, but how can I help?" And they asked me to put um, in the banner that I have running there at the bottom. I did put and in the description of the video, I'm going to actually put in my Cash App, my PayPal, and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not monetized. I'm not looking to make any money from this. I'm really not. But body cam footage, like for the Mark Young arrest, that's going to be expensive. The documentary request, they can charge me quite a bit of money for that. So I have no problem doing that. But if you want to help out and send a few bucks to help out with that, by all means, go ahead. I won't turn that down. Sir, sir, I'm not saying I'm not going to go broke by doing all this. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it helps, and it's just it's nice to see that people want to support the cause that we're going on. But other than that, I think we kind of covered everything I want to cover tonight. Um, just like I said, don't be afraid to talk about this and comment in the comment section below. The biggest thing is you can do to help this out. Um, the one thing that I brain farted earlier about is the algorithm for YouTube. So YouTube, if you're not making commentary for a couple of years, you're completely out of the algorithm. And once you start making videos regularly for a month or so, 6 weeks, which I'm going to kick up next week instead of once a week for the past couple weeks. I'm going to step up to 2 videos a week at least, and then I'm going to start doing a live stream once every week, probably on Wednesday nights for about an hour, hour and a half, where you guys can chime in the chat, and I'll ask questions on the fly, and we can just sit around here and have a conversation about this. Um, I know a lot of people are concerned about it, but the biggest things you can do to help is hit the like button, leave a comment in there, just whatever, leave me a question or something I can ask in the next one. And then hit the subscribe and the bell notification. It's the biggest things you can do to help right now. And until I end up getting back in that algorithm and we start hitting that outreach like we should, because once we start getting back in the algorithm, then these videos will be getting the thousands of views again, like I used to be. Um, but anyway, um, don't be scared, folks. Don't be scared. These are just people, and what are they going to do? You know, but we have a right to ask these questions. We have a right with our tax money where it's going, who we're funding, and we have a right to say, you know what, we don't care. Of course, we care what crimes juveniles commit, and they have to pay the punishment for those crimes. But we expect that if our juveniles, from our communities, even though if they do bad things, they go to juvenile detention, they don't have employees there that they're put on notice with that you know will sexually assault them, and these people they don't have the judgment to be in a position that they're in. They need to completely clean house. And again, these member counties, they just need to pull the funding until something major happens, major answers, change the administration, totally clean house with the supervisors, because obviously the supervisors didn't do anything. you know I asked to, in my records request, I put in a request for SIACC and SIADSA for anybody who's been received any kind of punishment or anything like that. um, regarding the Mark Young situation. We'll see. We'll see if anybody has had any reprimands at all. Probably not. Not holding my breath, but we'll find out. We're gonna put all these pieces together, folks. And like I said, don't be scared. We're gonna end up heading out of here with we're going to close it out with something uplifting here. I created a video using a bunch of AI. Again, all this costs extra money. You have to figure out which AI is good at this, making songs, making videos, this and that. Merge them all together. You still have to buy subscriptions and credits and stuff like that. So I don't mind doing that though. It's fun. We're going to end with an uplifting video though. And enjoy the music video. Crank.
Concrete halls and the lights burn cold. Steel doors shut, stories never told. A badge can't hide what the shadows keep, while the innocent lie awake and weep. They said stay quiet, look away, let the system handle it someday. But truth don't live in a coward's breath, and silence only feeds the death. When the walls close in and the truth gets buried, when the brave get few, when the cost gets heavy, we stand alive when the night gets dark, when the wolves move silent inside the yard, when others freeze and turn away. We shine a light. shadows fade and the truth walks in, and the light exposes it.